Hello everybody, this is Bitcoin Macro, and on this video guys I'm going to talk about Iexec Rlc. RLC had a massive rally guys when it announced some major collaborations with Google and IBM, and at the same time it had also been listed on Coinbase, and then it got listed on Huobi and Bithumb at the same time. So it was listed on Bithumb, but what happened was there was a KRW pair added a few days ago on the 6th of May, and that also increased the value of RLC because when you get access to the Korean markets in Bithumb or Upbit, it tends to do very well. At least that's how coins have worked so far because of the demand in Korea. So I'm not gonna go too much into what is going on right now with RLC because of course you probably already know I've already covered the listing on Binance and the chart, so I'm just going to give you guys a little update and just mention that this is a pretty big thing. Okay, so having big European companies and actually even universities in there, it's something pretty big, okay, because it means it gives the project a lot of legitimacy. And like I had mentioned the previous time around, Iexec has been one of the projects that has kept delivering over and over again, various upgrades, various updates, and it has been working very hard. And every time we've seen a major collaboration or a major upgrade, the price has had a lot of cycles and a lot of pumps. But of course, during the bear market, those didn't really seem as big as at least this one, and that was primarily because of course the project hadn't grown as much as it has right now, and the listings also play a role, and also the fact that there weren't that much money in the bear market to increase the price of the token. But now this is some pretty major news. Again, you can go and read more about what this means because it has to do also with the Ethereum Alliance, the Google Confidential Cloud Computing Program, and all that stuff. So it's not just a simple announcement, so I don't want to get too much into it because you can also read about it. So let's go straight into the price now. And I got a comment, guys, as to why I should look at the USD pairs. And the truth is I look at the USD pairs. It's just there's a limited amount of time to analyze everything. And if I go, let's say, and make a video about a Coinbase listing and I go through all the pairs, it doesn't really make that much sense, especially because I do know, and most people know, that most of the coins have been making new highs versus the US dollar. So when a coin is already making new highs, it's coming out of massive accumulation period, because most coins actually, guys, had a similar chart. Now this was a better chart, but for example, RLC was lagging massively for quite some time, and that's not very obvious from the price. And I'm going to go into the Bitcoin chart and I'm going to explain why. So once you see the coin start breaking out, yes, it is a key factor, but you probably already know it from other things. And I'm going to show you right now on the Bitcoin chart. So for example, right here, we see this perfect cycle. And so far, every time the price had been coming down to some really important level, it used to bounce pretty quickly. But this time around, it had been going essentially sideways or slowly grinding higher for quite some time. Okay, so it was one of the worst performers. It didn't go down, of course, but being up only 150, 160% wasn't really massive up until the beginning of May. So for about 4 months, being up 165%, it's definitely not one of the best projects out there. Of course, that just means that, that has to do only with the price, of course. I'm not saying a project is bad or anything like it, just because the price didn't go up straight away. But usually these ones tend to have a lot of energy stored in them. So the more something consolidates, the more explosive the move up tends to be. Of course, if it has that move up, and here we didn't have those catalysts. Can you imagine maybe if we didn't have the Coinbase listing and the follow-up listings from Huobi and Bithumb plus this big news, maybe that coin wouldn't have done as well. Clearly, that's we're trying to revise history now. Hindsight is 2020, but that's what I would say. Whereas here, we do have a bit of a clearer picture with the Bitcoin chart, because slowly it started closing above those highs, and here we do have a clear retest and slowly a build up. So I did say that after this big move up it could go even higher, and of course it did build a massive base. And where has it stopped so far? It has stopped near the previous highs from the previous bubble, at least versus Bitcoin. So essentially it almost started from the same point, but look at how much longer it has taken to get up to this level compared to how much time it had taken back in the previous bubble. Now, of course, it's not at all-time highs with Bitcoin yet, but it's not really that far away. So from this point, it's about 130%, which in my opinion is going to get broken at some point. I don't believe it's going to last very long, and it's only about 90% from that high that it made right there. So again, very interesting chart, both in USD and BTC, because of the massive sideways movement, which in my opinion indicates massive accumulation, a lot of strength for an altcoin, which is a bit unusual in my opinion. And the truth about RLC is that because it had those pumps in the Q4 of 2019 and in Q3, Q2 of 2020, that was kind of what made it a little bit more heavy, because it had already performed very well. So once the cycle go completed again, it had to go a little bit of sideways before going higher. So sometimes when we see that grind up and we don't really have a strong trend, let's say from something in the US dollar, you see, yes, it's been performing well, but you have to understand that trading is a relative game, and investing too. You don't want to be invested in stuff that are not performing as well as others. Okay, so for example, the difference between RLC and Dogecoin, at least up until a few days ago, was massive. It was just night and day. So again, I'm just looking at the Bitcoin charts because they give me a clearer picture and more levels to work with. Because once that level is cleared, then what am I looking at? Or even, let's say, any other level. Because again, that's even a lot older. For example, this is just a level from 2018, and another level from 2018, and that's what I have to work with. That's just nothing. Whereas with the Bitcoin chart, I have a lot more levels to work with, because Bitcoin has also gone up 20x since the day RLC started trading. For example, I think when RLC started trading, probably Bitcoin was at 1,000 or a bit less or a bit more, somewhere around there. And that's why, in my opinion, it's good to watch at the Bitcoin chart, because again, if you just watch at the USD charts, there's so much money flowing in that distorts the picture for each coin. Again, I've said it so many times, but because there are new viewers, I do have to explain that situation. Maybe you want to look at it versus Ethereum, there's no problem with that. But again, it's kind of different watching it versus something that's crypto native and something that's performing well within crypto, and watching it versus something that constantly loses value. And especially in crypto, with all the flood of the new money coming in, it's not a good way to measure your performance, to watch stuff just in USD terms. And the last thing I'd like to say, guys, is that the big rally happened right after a big withdrawal from Binance. 44 million worth of RLC, 4 million RLC in total quantity were withdrawn from Binance to an unknown wallet. And that was right before the announcement with Intel and IBM. So before the withdrawal, or at least at the time of the withdrawal, the price rose about 23%. And then after that, it rose even more. So that definitely played the role, because I do believe potentially some people knew, of course, some insiders started buying. And that's why many times we do see certain things in the price, and that's why volume does matter, because insiders will play in the market. They will try to buy some of those tokens, and that would increase the price of the token in their effort to, let's say, place their bet. That's why volume analysis does matter sometimes in crypto, especially with those moves. Of course, you cannot know from early on what's going on, but when you see such strength, it might be that there are some big players that are trying to push the market much higher. Okay, so just know, guys, that this is a whale game. There are lots of big players into the market. This is not just for small fish. Of course, the small fish have a much easier way to track all these things with the blockchain, and also with volume, because big players, they cannot really buy as big quantities as, let's say, small fish can, at least compared to their portfolios. So it's easy for all of us to go in and buy some of that stuff. But when you have, let's say, 40 million that you want to play with, that's a totally different game. And maybe it was just a few people, maybe it was just one player that knew about it, but I do believe potentially even more players had already bought Iexec before the announcement, because all the people that knew about it, they would have definitely gone out and bought, and that meant that probably the price was already rising in part of this announcement as well. And of course, Coinbase and others might have already known about this as well. So that's it from me, guys. I hope you liked the video. Please remember, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, share the video if you liked it. These are no videos all about hype. It's just, you know, the reality. I do believe Iexec could go much higher from here, but maybe it does take a little bit of a pause right now because it has gone up a lot already, maybe skyrockets. But of course, I would never tell anyone to just rush in and buy after a really big pump before the coin does a little bit of a sideways movement without any consolidation. But I'm just outlining the facts right now. So it's a pretty good situation for Iexec with all the listings, all the big news, but at the same time, the pump has been pretty big. So if you want more of this stuff, guys, bullshit-free analysis, come follow me on Twitter, come follow me on Telegram and TradingView, where I post quick updates, charts, and everything else. So once again, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.